Now, Dre, I asked our Twitter community, man, just flat out, will you take the 8.5, assuming that 8.5 is the win total for Washington? I asked them, will you, without hesitation, take the 8.5 over for Washington this year? And the majority, Dre, it was majority of the answers were yes. Without hesitation, they would take that over, man. So Doug, I asked this question to you. You do think they have playoff potential this year? So clearly, I would assume that's the over for you, 8.5 wins. But how far can they go with Fitzpatrick at quarterback? Can they go further than the wild card?
I would take the over. I think that especially, the over-unders this year is strange because it's the whole 17-game season. I think that everyone's still getting accustomed to that. And I think that there are going to be more double-digit win teams than people might be expecting right now. I'm not sure if Washington's going to be one of them, but I think that they've got that potential. And I think that, they made it. They made it to the playoffs last year. Obviously lost to the Bucks. I think that they could make the playoffs, maybe get into the second round with Ryan Fitzpatrick. The thing there is that, Fitzpatrick, like I said, hasn't been the most consistent option throughout his career, but he's a significant step forward from what they had last season. Alex Smith was a great story, but let's not pretend like he played well for
Yeah.
Washington last
Yes.
season, because he didn't. And then obviously had Kyle Allen, who wasn't playing very well, Tyler Heineke, who had the kind of magic playoff game there, but from what I've seen and what I've heard about camp, he hasn't been overly impressive this season. And it's Taylor Heineke. He was, going back to college before he got the call from the Washington football team. So I think that just that improvement from what they had last year to now having Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think that's one of the reasons why, like I said, that they can take a step forward this season. Because even if he is inconsistent, even if he is his normal Ryan Fitzpatrick self, he'll be much better than what they had last year.
So, um, the best case and worst case scenario, I would imagine. I don't want to answer this for you. I just want to get an understanding. I guess the best case scenario could be winning a playoff game with Fitzpatrick. And then obviously correct me if I'm wrong. And then what would be the worst case scenario with Fitzpatrick, assuming he does start all 17? What could be the worst case? Or, yeah, 17. 17 games, assuming he can start all of them. What's the worst case scenario for Patrick and Washington football?
That's tough. I mean, I guess I'd say like 6-11, 7-10, one of those type of seasons. And with injuries, that can happen. Obviously, we all expect the defense to be to be strong this season, offense to be better with Curtis Samuel in there and everything. And Samuel's already banged up. He hasn't practiced since June. So if those injuries pile up, then Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't that type of quarterback who can take you to that next level by himself. He obviously still needs help. I do think that until Samuel comes back, that offense might not be running on all cylinders. They might not be an overly high-powered offense, but the defense is so good that I think that they can bail them out in a lot of situations this year.
Yeah, I agree with the defense, man. But the one thing with the defense, uh, Doug, is I struggle trying to extrapolate what the hell exactly happened last year. And the reason why I say this, um, I think our defense was good. I think Washington's defense was good. But I think one of the issues that we come across when we talk about Washington's defense, I'm talking about within our circle, we don't always take into account the offenses that we played last year.
Mm.
And that has a lot to do with obviously the quarterbacks or the injuries, just general injuries and stuff like that. From your opinion, uh, how much or how different could the defense be this year, in terms of scale wise? Or I mean, is it something that you understand where I'm coming from, where it's like you don't know exactly how good they really could be, because of the type of teams that they faced last year and the breaks that they were given last year. Where are you at with this one?
No, I could certainly see that. I mean, they did not play the best offenses. Just simply being in that division gave them a relatively easy schedule offensively. That being said, I do think that Chase Young is going to take a step forward this season. I think that Jamin Davis at middle linebacker is going to be a big addition this season. At least that's what Washington is expecting out of him. I talked to some people down there, and they were extremely impressed with not only his athleticism, but how quickly he was picking up the defense. And I think I was covering the second padded practice or the first padded practice that they had. And one of the things that they told me was that he was just as good with pads on as he was without pads on. And that's important for a young player like that. And certainly looked like he was doing well. One person described him as outstanding. So just having that, modern type linebacker in the middle of your defense is a big help. We all know that the defensive line is going to be really strong.
Yep.
The big question I would say is the secondary. I think that there are still some question marks in there, even as far as who's going to start in that secondary. So that needs to be settled a little bit, but the front seven is going to be strong. That's going to be a major strong suit for Washington this season.